get going.
It was a show.
I gotta make a drop out of that.
I'm pretty sure we've been doing this for many years now. I am pretty sure that I could be replaced with a good drop board.
I thought about doing that when you were on your honeymoon, but it was, believe it or not, too much work.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say it would be easy, but
I just felt that putting all of that work into recreating you would defeat the purpose.
the last thing we need is another me, a mechanical me.
Putting all the work into it would be a poor representation of you.
I see.
Yeah.
So MVP, Kenny King, and Lashley came out for a promo. They plugged his Bellator fight on Friday night. MVP said he would soon be champion in both TNA and Bellator.
Keep that in mind, by the way. His Bellator fight is Friday night.
Yeah. He said, nobody on the planet was tougher than Lashley, which brought out Samoa Joe. I'm pretty sure that MVP spent more time walking to the ring than he did actually talking here. So Joe said MVP is a great hype man, and Lashley had devastated everyone in his way. But he disagrees that Lashley was the toughest man in this ring, let alone this planet. He challenged Lashley to a non-title match, and then suddenly he hit King with a cheap shot. He was triple-teamed into oblivion, and security came out to separate them, and they held back Joe.
Well, like I said during the show, Joe started this fight, so it was only fair that he was held back.
He started it, but he was not finishing it.
Well,
They held back the guy who at that point was clearly losing.
Well, I'm sure they were probably afraid of Lashley.
All right, I'll buy that. That makes sense. Fans were chanting, "Let Joe go." Not "Let's go, Joe." Let Joe go. So MVP accepted Joe's challenge. This was all very simple and effective.
I will say one thing I really didn't like about this. First off, Joe danced to the ring. And it was great because they immediately cut to a shot of Lashley, and he had a look of utter bafflement on his face that this man was dancing down the aisle. So Joe gets in the ring, and he says he's very upset that MVP thinks that Lashley is tougher than he is. This appalls Joe. And so Joe says, let's just forget these belts and find out who's the toughest.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the fucking belts are all about?
Well, there's that.
To determine who is the toughest?
There is that. And Seth Rollins said the same thing to Cena a few months back, and I was pissed off.
Have we forgotten what a belt signifies?
Yes.
I'll tell you who of these two men is the toughest. The toughest man in this ring is Bobby Lashley, because he's the world heavyweight champion. If Joe thinks he's tougher, he is welcome to give it a shot, but the idea that it's not about the belts is stupid. It's all about the belts.
There was a Havok hype video, and then a Gail Kim and Taryn Terrell hype video, and then a Gail Kim versus Taryn Terrell match.
Mm-hmm.
This is awfully insane. So they're wrestling around for a while and something special, and then first Gail does the spot where she misses a body press in the corner and falls through the ropes to the floor. Only she missed the post pretty much entirely and essentially did a plancha through the ropes onto nobody. Splattered on the floor. That's no good. So they're fighting out there, and the next thing you know, Gail hits a neck breaker onto the stairs. So if you can't visualize this, this meant both women, both of them, had to jump from their feet, take a flat back bump on top of the stairs, and because the stairs are not that big, that meant the edge of the stairs struck both of them right in the small of the back.
I couldn't even believe this. Taryn's gimmick of late has just been, you have good matches by doing really, really crazy spots. And this one here, oh my God, what were they thinking? No one in their right mind should ever do this spot. They look like they nearly killed themselves. This led to everybody chanting better than divas.
Yes.
Which I think I gave this speech before, but on the whole, these women are not better wrestlers than the best divas in WWE. Yes, they are better than...
May I remind you of the 6-point match we just watched?
It was a 6-1 match where only 2 women were in the ring. But yes.
This was, in fact, better than that.
Well, that's true. I thought this was a good match, but I didn't think it was a great match. And I do think that Taryn has regressed during her time off. Or maybe she really was never all that good. She just had a couple of great matches before she left. I don't know. But it was all right. Taryn won with the RKO. Or no, I'm sorry. Taryn hit an RKO, but then Gale rolled through a high cross and pinned her.
Yes. So they were congratulating each other after the match when Havok made her debut.
Havok.
Havok is a large woman, and I don't mean fat. She's quite tall. And she has long hair down the middle of the back, but the sides of her head are shaved. And she came in and she hit Taryn with white noise. She hit Gale with a gigantic chokeslam. It was crazy. And then she hit Gale with white noise too, and she screamed a lot.
The only thing I didn't like, well, there were a few things I didn't like about this, but the main thing I didn't like about it was one of those moments where Taz and TNA reacted like they were reading word for word from a script. Zero believable emotion whatsoever. I didn't buy a bit of it. Taz is like, I think I know who that is. And I was like, who's that? Because I have absolutely no earthly idea. And TNA just was like, it's Jessica Havok. She's here. It just was lame.
I liked it.
Well, I mean, the attack and everything was fine. Just the reaction of the announcers. I didn't buy a word they said.
I barely even hear them anymore.
Yeah.
MVP tried to sow dissension between Eric Young and Bobby Roode. In hindsight, I have no idea why he bothered.
No, I'm sure that Eric's probably turning.
I see. Still. The BroMans were out on a date with each other, awaiting the arrival of their Tinderellas. DJZ was afraid they would start fighting over women. And Jesse was getting texts, but Robbie wasn't, so Robbie blamed it on poor reception and tried to get better reception. It was wacky.
I loved Tinderellas. I thought that was great.
I'm sure you do.
I never even thought about that line before. Tinderellas. Excellent.
EC3 came out to cut a promo on Rhino. More importantly, Spud was there.
Oh, my man Spud.
Every time I think Spud has reached peak Spud levels, he outspuds himself. I can begin to describe this, but he was more Spud than he's ever spudded before.
I explained this when we were watching it. He looks like a Roswell alien. He's got a big head. He's got a tiny little body. He's got a better tan than the Roswell aliens, I will say that. But it's only on his chest and his stomach. It's like he put on self-tanner, but he didn't even put it on his arms. And his haircut is so wacky.
I've never, ever, ever seen this haircut before on a human being.
Oh, it's I kind of had it.
No, not like this. I know the one you're thinking of. It wasn't like this.
Maybe right. No, I thought he was great. I think
he's fantastic.
He needs a job in this business for the rest of his life.
He needs his own show. The Spud Show. I'll watch that. Ethan had a list of demands, and he promised violence and beatings would continue until his demands were met. He wanted Bully Ray terminated. He wanted the terms hardcore and extreme banned from the company because they were sick of living in the past.
I'm cool with that one.
To which Taz said, Amen! And I laughed.
Taz of all people.
Yeah. And then he demanded the fans no longer tell him he could not wrestle. So, of course, they chanted, You can't wrestle at him. He declared himself the greatest wrestler alive. And the fans immediately began to chant for CM Punk. And Ethan said, Yeah, I'll beat him too. That was a great
love
recovery.
that even these fans, when the idea of who is the greatest wrestler alive comes up, they cheer for a guy in another. Actually, he's not even in another company right now.
They cheer for a retired guy.
Yeah.
They cheer for a Cubs fan.
Not somebody.
Not the Cubs fan, mind you, but a Cubs fan.
In this company, mind you. Just another guy.
So Rhino arrived, a brawl broke out, and he demanded a match tonight. And so Ethan offered him a match with Spud. And in hindsight, I'm so happy Ethan made that offer.
This Ethan guy is another guy that talk about missing the boat. This guy was in WWE, and they decided to let him go. I don't know why. He was pretty great in developmental. And they send him here to TNA, and they didn't send him here, but They essentially did by cutting him. That's what happens in TNA. But TNA hired him, and man, this guy is awesome. I think he's great.
Yeah. Speaking of great.
Oh, my God, this segment.
Brittany returns.
This segment.
Brittany is the most entertaining person not named Spud in this company.
You have got to, if you're listening to this right now, you have got to watch Impact for the Rhino versus Spud match and this segment here with Brittany and Sam Shaw. This may be the only good thing I've ever seen Sam Shaw in that was good.
That's a good point.
Yes, and it was great.
So what happened was Shaw he's just backstage. I can't even say what he was doing. He was just there. Brittany was eyeballing him.
Boy, was she ever.
Brittany is hot for Sam Shaw.
Yeah.
Because who wouldn't be? And she's staring at him, and she's smiling, and she's playing with her hair for 15 minutes or so.
Oh, my God.
She's just there.
It was amazing.
So it's already great. Gunner walks in, stops, looks at Tiffany. She doesn't even acknowledge his presence. He shrugs. He goes to talk to Shaw. Talking for a while. They were angry last week, but things are cool. And like in the middle of a sentence, Gunner stops, looks at Tiffany again. She is still twirling her hair and staring at Shaw.
Yes.
And he just shakes his head and moves on with his life.
He was playing the role of Brian Alvarez when watching this segment.
Yes.
That's what he was doing. Brittany is over there in the corner, and her role is to be fawning over Sam Shaw.
Yes.
And how many times have we talked about, there's a Raw segment, and somebody's supposed to be watching match on TV, and they can't even pretend to watch a television. They can't watch a television. They can't just watch the television. They've got to fake watching television, and so it's so corny. And here she was. She had to gaze at this lovely Sam Shaw, and she's twirling her hair, and there's no change in expression. There's no. What would it be? She doesn't react to anything. She's just like a robot. She's a lust-filled robot looking at Sam Shaw in the distance. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mentioned on Raw how horrible the Bella's acting was. Tiffany is maybe equally horrible, but in a totally different way. Because the Bellas are horrible and it makes for horrible TV, but Tiffany is horrible and it makes for great TV. I love Brittany.
You mean Brittany?
What did I say, Tiffany?
You said Tiffany.
I did say I wrote Tiffany, in fact. My bad. You all knew what I meant. So this led to Sam Shaw and Gunner versus Bram and Magnus. So Sam Shaw used to be a stalker. And so they subtly dressed him in stalker gear. He wrestled in like black pants and a turtleneck. That's what stalkers would wear. So now he's like reformed. He's just a wrestler.
He's a reformed stalker.
Why is he still wearing pants and a turtleneck?
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you.
I will say that he does have a great dropkick. But I will also say that he then followed that up with a shitty-ass arm drag.
Can I give you a pet peeve?
Yes.
You've
been doing that for a while now.
Come on, I rarely do that. So he does his drop kick, and it actually is a pretty sweet drop kick. And I think it's Tanae says, great extension on the drop kick. Right?
Okay.
Because dude jumps in the air, and he stretches all the way out and drop kicks the guy.
Sure.
Okay. So if this were a gymnastics competition, you would want to have a great layout, have a great stretch, that sort of thing, because you're doing gymnastics. But if you're in a physical confrontation, let's say, Vinny, that I'm trying to teach you how to break a board, okay, in karate, and I'm holding up the thing with the board on it. So what you would want to do is, if you were going to do a shote, a palm thrust through the board,
yes,
what you would want to do is you would want to aim past the board.
Right.
You wouldn't want to have full extension when you reached the board, because the board wouldn't break. Right?
Yes.
So the idea that you achieve full extension when you kick the guy in the face, it's like, well, then your drop kick sucked.
Well, No, he was saying full extension in that he made contact and then followed through.
I see.
Yeah.
That's the story.
When he made contact, his legs were bent, but then he extended them. This put his feet through his opponent's face.
All right, maybe.
That's how I take it. I thought you were going to say, because I don't.
That's a real nitpick right there.
I forget if it was here, but somewhere in the show, TNA referred to something as a stiff kick.
Well, that I hate too.
Shouldn't they all be stiff? Well, I mean, they shouldn't, but if you're an announcer, you should say they all hurt. Anyway, so
what does stiff mean?
Yeah,
it's a stiff kick because all the other kicks are loose.
They're very light. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gunner got chop blocked and rolled up, and Sam Shaw, rather than break up the pin, just stood in the corner and screamed. Then the heels left, and Shaw started shrieking at the ref. I have no idea what the hell was going on.
He was being very protective of his boy.
But he didn't break up the pin.
Well, he tried.
He's a stickler for the rules?
Well, he was just a, I don't know what his problem was. This thing had something to do with Gunner's knee or something. I don't know. Where the fuck was Brittany during this match? That's all I cared about.
I'm sure she was glued to her monitor twirling her hair. MVP tried to fuck with Bobby Roode. So if you're missing the connection here, the story is there's two guys who are going to have a fight, and the winner gets a championship match. And MVP is the only guy in the company who realizes it's good if these guys are not friends.
Yeah.
Trying to build tension.
Yes.
He is a great hype man.
I wanted to mention the World Cup of Wrestling. That is their latest, what do they call it? One night only?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got the World Cup of Wrestling, and it is Friday. You know what that means?
You gonna get it?
That means that their World Cup of Wrestling pay-per-view is going head-to-head with their world champion fighting in a real fight.
Aha, yeah.
I guess you can't really... things happen, I guess.
Yeah. How was it? Oh, the BroMans. The BroMans were having a peck-off, which was just what it sounds like, when the beautiful people arrived. Apparently, these were the two knockouts that had matched them on Tinder, so they were there for their dates. They promised that as long as the boys kept them happy, they would keep the boys happy, and they all left to party together.
So the moral of the story is that Velvet Sky and Angelina Love are on Tinder.
Yes.
So Wang is right all along.
That there are hot women on Tinder?
I guess so. Didn't he say that the average hotness of a woman on Tinder was an 8?
He may have.
I believe he said that.
Eric Young versus Bobby Roode. My main takeaway here is that Eric Young's back knee is completely disgusting. So they did a lot of counters and evasions to show that they were very familiar with each other and they knew what the guy was going to do before he did it. Started kicking out of each other's big moves. They chain wrestled their way to 200 near falls, and then finally Roode hit the Roode bomb for the win. It was good. I couldn't get into it. I just don't care. It's just a good match.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Eric was very upset afterwards that he had been defeated.
Yeah.
Which I didn't understand because he admitted last week that Bobby Roode was the best wrestler in the world.
Yeah. Why weren't you this angry going into the match? So Young did get over his anger and they hugged.
He was very disappointed that he had proved himself right. That's what happened here.
Yeah. So Roode went backstage, cut a promo about being back in the title picture after sitting home for weeks. Lashley arrived and they had a stare down. Bobby Lashley is so much more effective and scary as a mute.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And they figured that out.
He figured it out. He must never speak again. Just stare at people like he's going to kill them. And then, of course, follow through on this threat and kill them.
Yes.
Borash interviewed Team 3D backstage. As you recall, they get to pick the steps for the match. You'll never guess, but it's a table match.
Great. Something that makes sense.
Yeah.
And even Bully was like, duh.
Yeah.
Of course
what
it's going to be a
pick?
tables match.
Yeah. So they hyped that up for a while, and they said they would win. We had a 6-way X Division match for a title shot. Homicide, DJZ, Crazy Steve, Low-Key, Tigre Uno, and Manik. Mike Tenay at one point here referred to Tigre Uno as Mexico's luchador. Apparently they only have one, and now he's in TNA.
Yeah.
So,
what the hell happened to the Menagerie?
I don't care.
Well, I care.
Why?
Because I had to watch those fucking skits for weeks.
Just happy they're gone.
And now there's...
Well, wait, let me take that back. I'm upset that Crazy Steve is here and Rebel's hot pants are gone.
That's my point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, granted, something happened to Rebel. I don't remember. She broke her leg or something like that.
That sucks.
I don't even know if the match is aired yet. But, I mean, prior to her breaking her leg, where has she been? Where is Nux? Where's the big bodybuilder guy?
And the Stiltmen.
Well, I know the Stiltmen are still in Florida, but the point of this is you had this whole menagerie. You had a big jacked up guy. You had a former WWE star. You had a hot woman with a great ass. And all I see on my television is Crazy Steve, who, by the way, was single-handedly responsible for me doing a 1-month boycott of Impact for the first time in my life. And I have to see this guy on my TV every week still, and none of the rest of the menagerie. The menagerie.
Jeez. So in this match here, they did 8,000 moves, and Homicide pinned Manik with a cop killer. And if you enjoy mindless action, this is the match for you. I'm just amazed that we're going to get a Samoa Joe versus Homicide title match in 2014.
Well, that's true. Great.
I'm sure it'll be good. But this is the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, I guess so. I was a fan of... I liked this match. I thought this was a fun little match. You just got to go into it knowing what it's going to be. It's going to be 9 million moves.
And it was.
And it delivered in spades.
So after the match, James Storm and Sanada came out and they killed Manik further. And they dragged him to the back quickly and roughly, and his head bounced several times along the way.
Yeah, the guy didn't... he was supposed to be dead, and so he decided, I guess, that he wasn't going to tuck his chin in, and so he just let his head just thump, 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 all the way up the ramp.
Yeah.
This poor guy.
And after the break, Austin Aries came out.
And he was almost killed with the Gringo Killer.
Yeah. Then after the break, Austin Aries came out. He demanded Sanada and Storm come fight him 2-on-1.
Where the hell were you 5 minutes ago, dude? They were both out there in the middle of the ring.
Yeah. So Storm said he envisioned greatness and championships for Sanada, and he would do the same for Manik. And Aries ran them down for a while and said Sanada had pissed off everyone in Japan. He had not come out alone, and out came Tajiri. They all brawled, and Storm led Sanada away. And I'm sure this will lead to a tag match somewhere down the line.
Man, poor Tajiri. Just looked so slow. And he's old. 43 now. Yeah.
Happens to all of us.
We're not 43 yet.
We will be.
Well, we will be.
It happens to all of us, hopefully.
That's right.
Yeah.
If all goes well.
If all goes well.
If all goes well, you will keep getting older and slower. Let's think about that for a second.
Yeah.
What a practical joke by
if you're over the age of
life.
If you're over the age of 30 or 35, then yes, that's what's going to happen to you. Spud tried to get out of his match tonight, but Ethan said that he would fire him if Spud backed out. Chris Melendez hype video announced Melendez would make his debut on 9/11, noting the significance of that date.
Was that really? Did they need to note the significance of that date?
Because he's
we might have forgotten.
Well, I'm sure that's not the point, but it's relevant in this case since he is a former military.
That's true.
Then we had the best thing I ever saw in my life.
This has got to be like number 3 in the best squash matches.
I know. It was the best squash match we've seen since SummerSlam. But before that, it's been years.
Yeah, this is great.
So
it's great because Spud is so great. Spud's role was to go in there and be killed by Rhino P. Huffy. What was the name we gave him a long time ago?
Rhino something Hornhofer.
Rhino P. Hornhofer. was going to go in there and kill Spud. And so, Spud had the hair and the terrible fake tan. He wore his bow tie. And he is so great at selling a beating. He got thrown hither and yon. He wailed in horror and pain. He contorted his face in such a manner that you could not help but laugh and hope more pain would befall him so that you could laugh harder. He avoided a spear. He went out to get a trash can, to hit Rhino with, which, by the way, EC3 didn't want to see any more of. He's sick of this extreme bullshit. But Spud went for it anyway, and Rhino immediately speared him to death and pinned him. At which point, poor Spud went belly down and contorted his face into the mat and laid there. He was so awesome. This was my favorite match of all time.
This was fabulous.
Ever.
This was, first of all, the one thing you did not mention or did not give enough credit to. Spud is very, very, very small.
Yes, he is.
Rhino is very, very, very strong. So therefore, when Rhino threw Spud into the sky, Spud kept going up.
Yes.
He threw him so high, over and over and over again. He beeled him across the ring, and Spud flew. He hit a giant flapjack, and Spud nearly burned up upon re-entry.
It's possible, Vinny, that if he had been thrown a little higher, there would not have been a re-entry. And he would have just continued onward outside of our solar system.
He reached escape gravitational...
Escape velocity, yes.
Thank you, escape velocity, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the beating was great. Spud's... The one time he dodged was great. He dodges the gore. Rhino goes into the corner. Spud sits up, realizes that for the first time he has an advantage, turns to Ethan, gives him a thumbs up.
Yes.
Thumbs ups make everything better. He grabbed the trash can. Did you note that when the fans chanted ECW, Spud corrected them and said EC3?
Yes.
And they chanted this.
Because he's so great.
Yes. And then, yes, he turned around and was cut in half with a spear.
It was amazing.
No exaggeration. This match was perfect.
It really was.
They could not have done what they set out to do any better than they actually did.
No, it was a perfect match. It was a 5-star match.
Yes.
Because it was perfect.
And yes, this is up there with Brock versus Cena, Roderick Strong versus Kurt Angle, and what was the other one you wrote about? It was Ultimo Dragon and somebody on Nitro.
Oh, that's right. The Ultimo Dragon. Oh, the fuck did he? It was one of his trainees.
Yes, I'm sure he just destroyed
God damn it, I forget who it is. But it was great.
It was one of the best squash matches I ever saw.
Yes. I don't want to put over my ice bucket challenge, but I did have a plan when I did it. I actually, it was in the middle of the night, Friday night. It was after I finished After Dark Radio. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I came up with this idea for it, and I wrote it down, and I wrote it down in an email so I didn't forget it. Not that it was a very difficult one to remember, but it was a story. It was a very simple storyline. I don't like water. I'm going to try to finagle my way out of it. I'm going to do something very heelish, which is throwing my wife into water. And then she is going to yank me into the water and then throw all the ice on my head afterwards for good measure. Because at the end of the day, the heel has to get his in the end. And this match, when Spud got out of the way and Rhino bonked into the corner, it was like you knew this little guy was fucked. You knew it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody watching my Ice Bucket Challenge didn't think immediately that at the end of the day, this idiot's going into the pool. You knew it immediately, but it doesn't matter because you're waiting to see it happen. You want to see it happen. And at the end of the day, they delivered it with Spud lifting up the big trash can, parading around, and he turns around and is sliced in half by this gore. It was great. It was perfect. This match, some people would say he shouldn't have even got out of the way of the spear.
No.
You're wrong.
You're factually incorrect.
That was a setup because as soon as he avoided it, you knew his death was coming, and it increased the anticipation, which they then paid off.
Yes.
Why can't we have more squash matches?
You know,
I mean,
like
come on.
Like you, I know many people who used to watch wrestling. And a lot of the guys I know who used to watch wrestling say one of the things they missed was just seeing a guy get beat up. Forget the term they used. They were not insiders. They didn't know what squash matches were. But they wanted to see a big man fight a small man and kick his ass, beat the shit out of him, and pin him in 2 minutes.
Yes.
That's what people want to see in their wrestling.
It's fun.
It's great fun.
I mean, man, part of it was because it was John Cena, but how many people do we have here at the SummerSlam party? And boy, they were so into the match of the big giant monster suplexing repeatedly and beating the crap out of the other guy.
Yeah.
Look at the legendary MMA fights. You know, sometimes it'll be a back and forth battle, but often it's just, you know, one dude just destroys another little fool. I don't know. It's missing in this business. It needs to be brought back.
Yeah. So the main event, very anticlimactic at this point. Samoa Joe versus Lashley. I know this is taped a few weeks ago, but Bobby Lashley does in fact have a fight. In fact, as I speak, Bobby Lashley has a fight today in Bellator.
That's right.
So Lashley charges Joe here, and Joe picks him up and gives him a big slam on the floor.
Yes, if you have watched a lot of Samoa Joe matches, there's the spot in all of them where Joe is in the corner. The guy rushes at him with a stinger splash. Joe catches him in mid-move and then gives him the STO.
Yes.
He did that on the outside on the pretty black mats.
To Lashley.
To Bobby Lashley.
Who is enormous.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't recommend doing this for those of you who are trying to combine pro wrestling and MMA careers. It seems foolish. Wrestled around a bit. Lashley is a ridiculous athlete, particularly when he leapfrogged over to Samoa Joe and cleared the big Samoan with ease. Having a perfectly fun little match. Kenny King comes out to try and interfere. Joe shoves him off the top rope. Kenny splats on the floor, but this is still a distraction. And Lashley hit a full Nelson slam, but Joe kicked out, and so Lashley hit the spear for the win. Would have been much more effective with a clean finish, but I don't care. Spud at Rhino was a legendary encounter.
Well, you know, I was watching this, and I don't know if this was what they intended to do, but if you've watched a lot of Bobby Lashley has been beating everybody clean. Bobby Lashley is a heel champion who goes out there and he destroys everybody. This was the first match where Bobby Lashley had to have a little bit of help. And it struck me as a storyline of, here is the first chink in the armor of Bobby Lashley. I don't know if that was their intention, but when I watched it, that was what struck me. That was to me, that was the story of this match. This was the first time he needed a little bit of help. Now, with all that said, I would like to ask what I feel is a very valid question. Earlier in this show, we had Eric Young versus Bobby Roode in a number one contenders match, correct?
Yeah.
Bobby Roode won this match, correct?
Yes.
All right. I don't know if you're aware of this or if everybody listening to this is aware of this, but they have already taped Bobby Lashley versus Bobby Roode.
Sure.
We are 1 month away from Bound for Glory. What the hell is the card?
I don't know.
What is the main event?
I don't know.
I don't know a single match.
No. Not only that, I couldn't hazard a guess.
No, I have absolutely no idea.
Because Lashley is going to beat Bobby Roode, and then what? They have built no challengers.
I have absolutely no idea.
It's wonderful they've done such a great job building an effective champion, but they've got no one for him to fight.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen anything like this from TNA. Usually they spend 3 months doing a tournament that they screw up at the end.
Yes, this is a new kind of incompetence.
Not having a card at all.
Impact opened with the full color guard and he playing the national anthem. And they zoomed in on a fan standing at attention with his hand on his heart, which is very nice, but maybe they could find a guy who was not wearing an AJ Styles t-shirt. So this, of course,
some things never change.
This, of course, was the introduction for Chris Melendez. Came out in his camo shorts, walking on his prosthetic leg. And I realized this is, I'm sure this is not his plan when he got this, but the American flag tattoo on his shoulder really completes this gimmick. It's amazing. He slapped hands with all the fans at ringside. He kissed his girlfriend. He hugged his father. He was soaking everything in, and he stopped himself to salute the flag. There's no denying this guy has amazing natural stage presence. Very comfortable in front of the crowd and the camera. So it led to Chris Melendez.
You think he's going to be nervous?
No. Nervous is the wrong word. But he's in his element.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's Chris Melendez versus DJZ. I did love Melendez. His reaction to Zema Ion, I can only describe it as disrespectful confusion. He didn't know what to make of this man, but what he didn't know was that he didn't like him. So he did, in fact, wrestle with the prosthetic leg on. At first, it was mostly basic chain wrestling stuff. He did a cool neck breaker. And then Zema chopped the good leg for the heat.
I actually have to admit I laughed pretty hard at that. What a dick.
Well, yes, of course. But I'm hoping someday somebody works over the fake leg.
Or someone goes to chop block the fake leg, but they hurt their own arm.
Yeah, or that.
Sure.
Any of these, there's a lot of fun stuff that can be done here. So, Melendez, this is a strange, I can't even call it a critique, it's an observation. Most of the time, his fake leg does not bend. But sometimes it'll drop down to one knee. I'm not sure how this machine works. It's fascinating. By and large, he got around just fine. Had no trouble throwing Zema Ion around. And made a comeback and won with a Samoan drop. And the only comparison I can make, of course, is Zach Gowen. And Melendez looks way better. Gowen's athleticism is miles ahead of Melendez. But then you consider, I thought about this. As far as they said, this was his first pro wrestling match. Certainly his first match on Impact. And I think almost everyone who has had a first match, it was worse than this one.
Yes.
So
I don't know how much wrestling he's actually done. I mean, he's done a lot of training and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's done plenty of matches in training.
Mm-hmm.
But if this was like his first ever match in front of a crowd, then it was a phenomenal match, actually.
Yes.
The one thing, obviously, when you compare Zach Gowen is Zach Gowen lost his leg at 8. And so he had 11 years to learn how to wrestle before he ended up in WWE.
Right.
And Melendez obviously lost his leg more recently.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't an 8-year-old learning how to, when you've walked with 2 legs until you're an adult and then you lose a leg, it's a little harder to adapt to it than when you lose your leg at 8 and you grow up and you go through puberty and your body changes and you're learning it all with one leg.
Yeah.
So it's much easier for a Zach Gowen to have great pro wrestling matches since he grew up without a leg, as opposed to Melendez, who's just pretty much. I mean, he's learning how to use a prosthetic and pro wrestle at the same time.
He is still learning, yes.
Yeah, but he was fine. It's just, I mean, there's no easy way to wrestle with one leg.
There's no easy way to wrestle with 2 legs.
That's also true.
So yes, and they pointed this out, and it's a completely valid point. Regardless, this was a very successful segment.
Sure. I enjoyed it.
Bobby Roode came out for a promo. He was talking about how great it felt to be the top contender. Stopped to talk about how great Eric Young was, which is a sure sign that an Eric Young heel turn is coming. MVP and company came out to interrupt. They said Roode was the hero in a movie, but this is no movie. Lashley was going to kill him. Compared Lashley to Darth Vader. I'm not buying that. And then,
I don't know.
And Roode went off about how Lashley was bigger and stronger, but he had more heart and desire. And as he was saying this, Kenny King was in the background making fun of him, saying, no, the other guy's bigger and stronger. He is going to kill you. And I kind of agreed with Kenny King on that one. So MVP sucker punched Roode. A brawl broke out, and Eric Young and Samoa Joe ran out to make the save. Joe challenged the heels to a match. This heel stable, by the way, needs a name. MVP and his crew does not work. So
Oh my God, they had some sort of name and I forgot what it was. Maybe it was never an official name. It was a name somebody had given me that I wouldn't have gone with, but I forget what it was, but they had some sort of name.
I remember we were making fun of them and calling them Creationism.
Yeah, hey, may as well.
That is better than MVP and his crew. So.
Oh, it was MLK. MVP, Lashley, and King.
All right. I'm not sure if that's better or not, honestly.
I don't know about that one.
So we'll move on. Yeah, they challenged him to six man, and the match was on. So it was Lashley, MVP, and King versus Roode, Eric Young, and Samoa Joe. I had two favorite parts of this match. The first was when the fans were chanting, "Let's go, Bobby." Half of them would chant that, and the other half would clarify Roode, since there were two Bobbies in the match.
I see.
Had to make sure we knew who we wanted to go.
Darth Vader, by the way, is far more charismatic than Lashley.
He is.
And a much, much better promo.
Oh, God, yes. Undoubtedly.
In case anyone was wondering.
They talked about Lashley's appearance at Bellator, and the announcers talking about pro wrestling, and Taz defending the toughness of pro wrestlers, and it was actually fascinating to listen to because he had to make his point while dancing around the obvious elephant in the room, which is funny. So they're doing this match. It's fun. And Lashley, the MMA fighter, goes to put Eric Young in an armbar, and Eric Young is managing to fight him off, which made me seriously question Lashley's legitimacy as an MMA fighter.
I was astonished they did that spot.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that was just to prove Taz's point.
I guess.
This Eric Young is not an MMA fighter, but goddamn, he can powerbomb his way out of an armbar.
So that was the end of the story. The Lashley transitioned to a triangle, and Eric Young, from that position, deadlifted him up and powerbombed him. Holy crap. That was insane.
Well, you're right, but it's only a 280-pound deadlift.
All right. I couldn't do this to Bobby Lashley.
I'll bet with a few months training you could do a 280-pound deadlift. I'd bet money on it, actually.
I'm skeptical. Regardless, I certainly can't do it now. And Eric Young trains more than me and is probably stronger than me, but he's a lot smaller than me. It looked impressive.
Sure.
Can I just enjoy this spot?
Yeah, I'm just telling you. I'm putting you over, Vinny. I'm trying to explain to you that you could do a 280-pound deadlift.
I see. So it broke down to a six-way, and Roode pinned MVP with a Roode bomb. Crowd was chanting it was awesome. That was not true, but it was a perfectly fun little TV match. Or the opener. It was not the opener. It was a match. Things improved significantly. Brittany was on my TV.
Jesus God.
I love Brittany. She can't... Everything she does is funny.
That's true. Unintentionally funny.
Yes. So, she was supposed to act like she was waiting in the hallway for Gunner, but she's Brittany. So this alone was a challenge. So she's being creepy. Gunner mumbled something. I think he acknowledged he was being creepy. And then she sort of blew him off, I think. Neither of them were acting like any human beings I've ever seen before.
Gunner kind of was. He's just baffled by this woman.
I guess.
That's believable to me.
And yeah. But I couldn't understand him, so it would have helped. But I think he said he would see if Sam Shaw was seeing anyone.
Yeah, she asked if Sam was seeing anyone, and he said a battery of psychologists. And then I guess that was supposed to be a funny joke. And then she wanted to make sure that he knew that she was asking about a girlfriend, because she took his word for it when he talked about the psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. So he said he would go find out. Everything she does, she has never done anything that I have believed.
No, that's what makes it awesome.
She's the perfect girlfriend for Sam Shaw.
That's a good point.
Yeah, they're made for each other.
It's very sweet when you think about it. The next segment was something. The BroMans versus the Menagerie.
They finally returned.
Yeah. So the BroMans came out and did their entrance with the beautiful people.
Because they're dating. They met on Tinder.
Yes. The Menagerie came out and did their usual thing. And then they had a long comedy match. That's really all they did was one comedy spot after another.
I fucking hate Crazy Steve.
He's hateable.
And he actually did like a really sweet plancha, which even made me even more upset. Because I was like, man, this guy kind of is talented, but he's got such a hateable gimmick. There's no gimmick in wrestling I hate more than Crazy Steve. None. Even the Bellas.
Bella's gimmick is fine. Frankly, as performers, they're okay. Their angle sucks.
That's true.
Yeah. Crazy Steve is, that's not good. So they were plugging the women's calendar, and the gimmick was they would reveal who was on the cover later. And Taz, you could almost see him, and I wish I'd written this down, but Taz, you could tell he picked up his script, and he read the words that were written for him in as fake a manner as possible. Taz don't give a fuck no more.
How could you give a fuck when you're just given all these words to read?
Yeah, but usually he sort of tries. Taz wanted you, the viewer, to know that he was reading from a script.
I see.
Yeah.
Because as everyone is aware listening to this, you are merely reading your notes.
That's true.
But every now and then, you display a little bit of life.
Try to avoid that in the future.
I rarely hear that from the TNA announcers. It's always just mechanical reading of the lines.
Yeah, but this is overly mechanical.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
All right. So they're doing this match, and Rebel made a comeback against Velvet, and Velvet was clearly the superior wrestler. Ponder that for a while.
Well, this was her first ever match.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just like Chris Melendez.
Well, Chris was much better. Chris Melendez was much better than Rebel.
And ironically, actually, she broke her arm. Never mind.
Oh, was I here?
Next week.
I feel bad. I did like where she tried a sunset flip, and Velvet responded by screaming, "Oh, no!" So Steve gave Velvet a kiss. This caused Velvet to run in circles, waving her arms over her head.
I did on the same thing.
Then she ran up to Rebel to get body slams, but Rebel forgot the spot, and they stood there for a while. Then Angelina interfered. Then Velvet hit schoolgirl and pulled Rebel's shorts down. In the process, she exposed too much of Rebel's thong, and so she pulled them back up. Like, this was really, really horrible, but I couldn't bring myself to hate it. I don't know if I was just tired. I was not in the mood.
It wasn't that bad. We've seen so much Rosa Mendez.
I guess that's it.
As bad as this was, it was still better than Rosa.
There was nothing good about this at all.
The knockouts were better this week.
It wasn't. Yes. It wasn't funny. It wasn't cool. It was just. Maybe it's because we've seen most of this crap before. We've seen Crazy Steve before. We've seen Velvet's. Well, actually, I shouldn't make fun of Velvet here. I don't know.
Well, just think about this. Rebel in her first ever match opposing Velvet Sky
yes.
was a better worker than Rosa Mendez.
Yes.
And Eva Marie.
Yes. And Rosa has been doing this for 8 years.
It just blows my mind. How can you be this bad?
I don't know. It defies all logic. You would think at some point you get better on accident.
Well, you just think at some point you just couldn't not get better.
Yeah. Team 3D cut a promo. They said they would win and be champions again. Kurt Angle called out EC3. He then said he was a violent man, and if Angle did not grant his demands, he would take Angle out for good. Angle said he's going to kick Ethan's ass sometime, but right now there's somebody else who wanted to kick his ass even more. And he put Ethan in a street fight for right now. Angle actually is a hell of an authority figure.
Sure, yeah. He's fine.
Yeah. So the match was Ethan versus Rhino in a street fight. They had every garbage match in 1988 here in 2014.
98.
What did I say?
88.
1998. Chairs, sticks, trash cans, all this stuff. And after this battle, Ethan hit a headlock DDT onto a chair for the win. No interference, no bullshit, no slipping on a banana peel finish. He beat this man.
Yes. In his own kind of match.
What an amazing reversal for Ethan over the past.
It was funny. That's the exact same thing I thought when I watched it. I was like, now all of a sudden, he's a tough badass.
Well, they did explain, to their credit. They did have him say that when he watched Dixie go through the table, he was a changed man. So he's serious. So there you go.
If Wang watched his aunt go through a table, that doesn't mean he's going to come into jiu-jitsu class the next day and run through everybody.
Well, no.
I would like an explanation like he's been getting progressively better.
Well, the lesson would be that Ethan always had the talent to be an ass kicker, but didn't have the rage inside.
I see. That, I could buy that, Vinny. Why don't you write these fucking scripts for the announcers?
I guess they have people they like more. We got post-match comments from Chris Melendez. A hell of a promo.
I like this guy.
Talked about overcoming obstacles and inspiring others. I don't know what pro wrestling has in store for this guy, but I am sure that whatever walk of life he ends up going down, he's going to be very successful.
Yes.
He's going to be fine. They had all the knockouts in the ring to reveal who was on the calendar cover. And then before Borash could make the announcement, Angelina grabbed the mic and said it was going to be her. Jeremy Borash was so pissed.
Dude, you never let someone handle your mic. Even Angelina.
Thunder. So it turns out the person on the cover was actually Velvet. Angelina was outraged, so they have just hooked up with the BroMans, and they're already breaking up.
They've been breaking up for weeks. And I think Velvet is still a heel, but she was a complete babyface in this segment.
Yeah, kind of.
I did like how Borash talked down Angelina after she stole his mic.
Yeah. Just stared her down, give her the stink eye.
Yeah, took his mic back. Good job.
Yeah. So Havok came out to kill everyone. Gail tried to brawl with her in the aisle, got her ass kicked. And she climbed on the apron, and the beautiful people threw Brittany right into a chokeslam. And then Havok posed with the title belt, and the other girls all hanged back and looked screwed. So in a month, like almost to the day, they're doing a show from Japan. They have announced no matches.
Their WrestleMania.
They have announced officially no appearances. They put a bunch of faces in the commercial. I don't know if they're all going to be there. But yeah, that's their big show, and none of us has any freaking clue what's going to happen on it.
No, there is a list of names, which is probably the same faces that you saw in that deal. But yes, as of right now, I have absolutely no idea. It's not even like we don't know the undercard. I don't know the main event.
No.
I have no idea. They spend this whole show building up Bobby Lashley versus Bobby Roode. That match airs next week.
Yes.
Remember when there was that talk about how, if TNA just cuts to 4 pay-per-views, they'll have more time to build up their shows. Instead of only needing 4 weeks, they may have 8 weeks or perhaps 12. Well, they're down to 4 pay-per-views, and it's a 4-week build, just like always.
Yeah.
It's better than that tournament they did the last 2 years.
Well, that's true. We had a wacky skit out in the woods. There was James Storm in a barn, and Sanada in a barn in his gear. I wish I had been there when they said, Sanada, we need you to put on your face paint and your wrestling gear and then go stomp around this barn in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, also in the barn in the woods was Manik, tied up, still wearing his mask and his gear.
Apparently he's been there for a week.
Yeah. And the cameraman's filming this. Nobody's pressing charges for kidnapping. You can just take Manik wherever you want. And Storm started to tear Manik's mask off, and Manik started to scream, and Storm ordered the camera to leave, and it ended with the screen fading to black and James Storm's grunts echoing. This was dumb.
I love how it was big tease that they might take off Manik's mask.
It's T.J. Perkins. They made a point of this.
I thought they did.
It would have been, actually, you know what would be awesome? Is they took the mask off, and it was Kaz.
Actually, that would be awesome.
And they said, what the hell? They put the mask back on.
I like somebody's idea when, for the bunny on NXT, that you unmask the bunny, and it's Heath Slater.
Yes, I saw that too.
That's a good one.
That is a great plan. A great resolution. They showed clips of Lashley's win in Bellator. He fought a big, scary guy, beat him bloody, and then choked him out.
Yeah.
This made him look like the badass to end all badasses.
Well, I'm glad you fell for it, because his opponent really was no good at all.
I'm sure that's true.
But it doesn't matter.
In clip form.
It's exactly right.
Yes.
In clip form, it looked like Lashley just beat the hell out of some big bruiser.
Yes.
Put the hurting on him.
Yes. Well, he did put hurting on the guy.
Well, he put a hurting on him, all right.
I'm sure that guy was hurt. They showed Gail looking for Havok backstage for 5 seconds. We had James Storm and the Great Sanada versus Austin Aries and Tajiri. Best sign of the show was a guy. The sign said, TNA Network, only $9.98. Bargain.
Yeah.
So Tajiri, of course, is older than he used to be. He is also fatter than he used to be. But when he still needs to bust out a handspring or a kick, he can get the job done. He tried to put Storm in the tarantula. Couldn't get it. So he put Sanada in it instead. And then Storm spat beer into Tajiri's face, and Sanada hit a kick for the win. There was much more to it than that, but it was a pretty fun TV tag match.
Speaking of the network, did you read what Dave wrote on the front page?
Which part?
I will read it.
Right.
TheWrap.com has an article that WWE is in talks of selling its entire pro wrestling library to Warner Brothers. The story said that neither side would comment on the story, and WWE is transitioning away from using its library. It indicated it was due to disappointing network subscriptions.
Yeah, I read that.
This must be a mistake. This must be a miscommunication by the people at TheWrap.com. You're trying to tell me that WWE is interested in selling all of their library because they created a network which is doing poorly based on providing 2% of the library. That is literally the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard of in my whole life.
As a network fan, I sincerely hope there's some grievous error going on.
Oh my, go on. Nothing will come of this, everybody. Trust me.
All right.
It's too stupid for anything to come of it.
Gale and Hardy's got a promo saying that they had lost a match, now they were angry, and they had beaten Team 3D across the street in the first tables match ever. That's what they said.
Ever?
I think that's not true.
Very skeptical.
Yeah. Gale and Havok brawled for a few seconds, and then they brawled after the break. They brawled down to the ring. Geeks magically appeared to break them up, and Havok started throwing dudes around, including chokeslamming one of them on the floor. Bad times.
Hey, listen. If you're going to debut a new girl, great way to do it, and a great first opponent.
Sure.
Great.
Everything they've done with Havok so far has been good.
No problem with any of this.
No. Main event was Team 3D versus Hardys versus Wolves in a three-way tables match. I was getting annoyed during this because tables kept breaking, but the match kept continuing.
Well, you got to put a guy through it.
But there were times where I thought it was close enough.
Close enough doesn't count in pro wrestling.
Yeah. So,
otherwise, everyone would be pinned with a 2.
Right? Touche. You have a good point there. So it was basically a cluster, and guys setting up tables and going to put their opponent through them, but the third guy running in and moving the table. I am just happy because usually when they do this, they come way too close, and a guy almost lands on the edge or almost lands on the leg, and it scares the hell out of me. They did a much better job this time of actually moving the table out of the way before slamming some guy to the mat. So, long story short, the Hardys put Eddie Edwards through a table with a senton on the floor to win.
God, he killed him. Help Matt Farmer was watching. You got nothing to complain about, dude.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then the Hardys proceeded to pull out a ladder, and they climbed that and said that the match would be a ladder match. So I do love that the gimmick is that every team gets to pick a steps, and then they always lose at those steps.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I thought it was a good show. I really enjoyed this Impact. Your girl, Brittany.
Amazing.
Yeah.
She's never had a bad segment.
Yeah,
That's a lie.
The one
She's
thing
never
that
had a forgettable segment.
really pissed me off, and it's like a TNA trademark. I think it was last week. Last week they had another Brittany segment where she's back there and she's looking for Sam Shaw or whatever, and they kind of show her off in the distance, and she's wearing the tightest pair of pants, and I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait till she comes down to the ring. I can't wait till she walks away. It's gonna be so great. Never saw her again.
No.
It's gone forever. It's amazing. Well, I guess we should talk about Impact.
Impact was a very, very good show with a very, very, very bad opener.
Oh, man.
The Knockouts Battle Royal. We used to do shows as everyone listening to this has heard 1,000 times by now. We used to do shows for Tim Flowers in Tacoma. And Tim would train anyone who would pay him. And then he would take them and put them on the shows. To
be fair, most people would.
Well, that's true. But he would then put them on the shows in the opener for a rookie rumble.
Yes, the rookie rumble.
Take a dozen untrained guys, put them in the ring before a paying crowd in a battle royal. They were as bad as this match. Or, to put it the other way, this match here on national television was as bad as the rookie rumbles in Tacoma.
This was one of those examples where, we watched Fall Brawl 95, and some people are like, man, Bryan and Vinny are romanticizing about this old WCW, which really was not very good. But this was one of those examples where if I went back and I watched that War Games with the Ultimate Warrior, where he appeared and disappeared in smoke, do you remember this?
I've actually never seen it, but I remember it.
I believe I gave it maybe -5 stars. For sure it was -4. But it was a very, very bad match. I'm pretty sure that if I watched that match and then watched this match, that War Games match might have been a better match. The standards have fallen to such depths in 2014. Thanks in large part to all of these women wrestling on Impact all the time. This match, first off, this match was so absolutely terrible. And somebody, I have no idea who, but this person needs to just stop. The people involved were Brittany, Vinny's girlfriend, Rebel, who, when I explained to Whitney and your wife that she'd only had 2 matches, Whitney was like, well, why is she on national television? And then she noticed that she had a big round ass and figured it out very quickly. Havok, Velvet Sky, Angelina Love, Madison Rayne, and Taryn. Am I missing anybody?
No.
So you had all of these girls, and in the end, it comes down to Havok versus Rebel and Velvet. Who in the fuck thought that these 3 girls would be the perfect final 3 in this battle royal? Velvet broke her arm.
Rebel,
I'm sorry. I apologize. Rebel broke her arm. How, you ask? Well, in her second match, they thought they came up with this great spot where she would take this crazy bump over the top rope and fall down onto the steel steps. I'm not making this up.
Yes.
And she broke her arm. So it comes down to Havok versus Velvet. Velvet, by the way, is supposed to be a heel.
Yes.
But she is a total babyface here. Her brilliant plan to defeat this monster, who outweighs her by double, is I'm going to put her in a sleeper. Maybe she will be rendered unconscious, and then I can lift her dead fucking weight and throw it over the top rope to win. Well, this plan didn't work. And then Havok just threw her out of the ring and won. This match was horrible.
The brawling here was so bad, they managed to screw up the roar spot.
Oh, yeah.
A spot that could be performed by any random 8 preschool kids to satisfactory degree. These women cannot do. And then there's Brittany.
Oh, Brittany.
Brittany, as we've noted, I'll say this specifically. Brittany is my favorite awful wrestler ever. She's never not funny. She was brawling with Havok, and she was throwing these forearms to the chest, where she would lift her arm over her head.
She has some sort of issue with her arms. Whenever she uses them...
She has issues with many things.
Whenever she uses her arms, hilarity ensues.
Well, even at the beginning, when she was just trying to make eye contact with all 8 women at once...
That's right. The bell rang, and so everyone starts moving. And so in the most dramatic manner as humanly possible... Actually, I can't even say humanly possible, because she looked like an owl. She just... Her head went as far to one side as it could, eyes wide, as far to the other side as it could, eyes wide, and back and forth about 3 times.
It looked like if this was a real battle royal and someone had told her always, keep your eye on your opponents. And so she faced opponent A, recognized where she was, then immediately went to opponent B, and then C, and then D, mechanically. This tick, 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 tick.
I wish they did
like a
skit,
sprinkler or something.
A skit where somebody said, keep your eye on all your opponents, and she was like, I only have 2 eyes.
Yes. So she's brawling with Havok, and she lifts her forearm up over her head. Then she arches her back as far backwards as it will go.
That's what you have to do.
And then brings her arm swing all the way forward to make contact with her opponent. I don't think I've ever seen a Brittany appearance where I didn't at least smile.
Oh, no, it's impossible. She's amazing.
She's entertaining.
Everything she does is awesome.
Yes. She's always entertaining. She did not win. Other than that, the standards for most battle royals suck. Before this year, of course, actually, there have been a bunch of good ones this year. But by the very low standards of battle royals, this was still an awful, awful match, and someone got hurt.
Yeah.
Which knocks it down several notches.
I know that Jim in Virginia is going to be very upset to hear this, but Havok just looked terrible. He looked terrible. And granted, she was in there with not much, but hardly a showcase for her here in this match. She is now the number 1 contender for the title. Yippee.
Gunner and Sam Shaw had a meeting. I'm going to paraphrase here. Shaw did not want to see his therapist anymore. The former sex offender with post-traumatic stress disorder decided he was done with therapy.
Yeah, Gunner's enough.
Gunner's response was, cool, but you should go fuck Brittany.
Do you want another spoiler?
He fucks her?
So they have this thing here, and Gunner says that this crazy Brittany girl has got her eye on you. And Sam says, well, my mind is fixated on someone else.
That was the closure here. Yeah, my mind is fixated on someone else, so apparently he's going to stalk more.
And so Tenay says, I wonder who the lucky person is.
Aha.
And so you're supposed to think, I guess, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I thought, well, his special someone must be Gunner.
All right, yeah.
Now, maybe I'm missing something because I only have the taping results. Maybe there's more to the story. But Sam Shaw turns on Gunner and is now fucking Brittany.
There you go. Thank goodness this show turned around. Because it was awful up to this point.
It was quite a turnaround.
It was actually, and it was really, really good for the most part from here on in. MVP came out for a promo. Talked about how Lashley was going to beat Bobby Roode tonight. He called out Chris Melendez, called him an American hero, thanked him for all he had done, and invited him to join his crew. And before Melendez could accept or respond, Kenny King pointed out that he'd have to start at the bottom, carrying their bags. And Melendez denied this. King was outraged that Melendez thought he was too good for that spot. He challenged him to a match, and then dropped him with a cheap shot, and the match was on. So it was Kenny King versus Chris Melendez. It was King beating him up the entire time, and then Melendez hit a sunset flip out of nowhere for the win. Then the angle afterwards is the best part. King lays him out with a big slam, cuts a promo saying, "You're not a hero, you can't even defend yourself, let alone this country." Everyone was booing the crap out of him. And then Kenny went to tear the fake leg off. That's pretty funny when you think about it. He can put, it's not an implant.
Yeah.
He'll just yank it off, and then Chris will say, hey, and then put it back on.
Yeah.
So I was laughing at that, and then Mr. Anderson ran out to make the save. But in all seriousness, it was a low-down, dirty thing for King to do, to attack this one-legged man from behind twice, and then try to attack his, to take away his prosthesis. And then Mr. Anderson came out and made the save. A very good angle.
Well, it was, but at the same time, I like Chris Melendez, but he should be like a special attraction. And this is the second week in a row he's wrestled on television, and they're very quickly turning him into just another guy.
Oh, yes, that's true.
I mean, I had this whole scenario built up that they could have done. before he even had his very first match to make it seem like a really, really, really big deal. And now he's already had his second match. So I think they need to back off on Melendez and make it a special deal when he comes out and has a match.
We had a fantastic Lashley Roode hype video. Show them doing intense training and preparation for this battle. My favorite part was when Lashley was doing sprints on a treadmill with the TNA title draped over the display panel.
Oh, yeah.
That was great.
That's how a man should train when he's a champion.
That's right. Anderson gave Melendez a pep talk backstage. Samoa Joe versus Homicide for the X title. It was a toned-down version of an ROH main event. They did all their usual spots. Homicide tried the cop killer, but Joe escaped, and then Joe hooked a rear naked choke for the win.
Well, that's not quite what happened. The finish was actually awesome.
All right.
Homicide went for the RKO, and he leaped up in the air for the RKO, and in midair, Joe caught him and landed in the choke for the win.
Ah, okay.
That's actually awesome.
It's even better because Homicide hit the RKO shortly before that.
Well, you don't go to the well too many times.
That's
you should
right.
know this.
That's a better finish. So Joe pulled Homicide to his feet. They were about to shake hands when James Storm and the Great Sanada attacked. Homicide with James Storm looks so tiny. And then Storm brought out Manik, who had a spiffy new blue outfit, and he laid out Homicide with a frog splash.
I like this match.
Yeah, it was fun. Jeremy Borash interviewed the Wolves. They said they would win.
The hunt will never die.
You're not a fan of this promo.
No, I wasn't.
It was goofy.
This hunt will never die doesn't even make sense. How can a hunt die? I mean, I guess. I don't like that catchphrase. This hunt will never die. How about we'll never stop hunting?
Yeah, that'd work too. Yeah.
Plus, they're the champions, right?
Are they?
Who are the champions? I think they're the champions.
I guess right now they still are, because no one has won this series yet.
So why is there still a hunt? They're the winners.
Well, they did explain that, because they said it was hanging up above the ring was not just championship belts, but it was a legacy.
I see.
And they're hunting
actually,
for a legacy.
The belts were above the ring, so the deer has escaped.
Yes.
I see.
Yes. I used to play a song from the Spy Hunter video game. Included the line, "Let the hunt be the hunted." And I was living with Jim at the time, and that
let the hunt be the hunted.
Yes, and I was living with Jim at the time, and Jim, it drove him nuts. Like, it would ruin his day hearing this song. He could not take how bad that lyric was.
Wow.
Yes.
What do you think about "A Winner Is You"?
He probably liked that. All right. Oh, the ladder match was next. The Wolves versus Team 3D versus the Hardys. This was absolutely insane. These guys all killed each other, especially Jeff.
Let me make one comment about the promo before this, however.
All right.
Bobby Roode and Eric Young.
Oh, I missed that, yeah.
Eric Young's shirt.
Isn't it just a giant picture of him?
It's his face looking horrendous.
Yes.
So they're reminiscing about all the crazy things that have gone on this year. And Bobby Roode notes that he almost became part owner of this company. I was just wishing that Young would have said, "You dodged a bullet."
That's right. So, yeah, the ladder match was nuts. Couple of Jeff Hardy moments. The Wolves are doing the spot where they're holding the ladder and running around and clotheslining guys with it. And they turn around, and Jeff's on the top rope. And the idea is that Jeff would send on the ladder, and that would knock both of the Wolves down. And I guess that's what they did, but in reality, Jeff landed on the ladder, and the Wolves held it up, and Jeff crashed on this and then rolled over onto the other side. God, that looked painful. Then, Jeff, I believe it was Jeff, who ended up taking a superplex from Bubba off the top of a ladder, which was nuts. And then the big finish, Jeff was going to climb a ladder, and Davey tried not to tip the ladder, but to move it. At least that's what it looked like. And he tried to move the ladder to the side, and it looked like he accidentally tipped it over, and Jeff fell down on the side of the ladder. Do not ever do this, anyone.
This guy's out of his mind.
Yeah. This is brutal. So Eddie climbed the belts to win. Fans were just pissing themselves with glee throughout this match.
I thought the match was great. They had tons of replays.
Yes, that helps too.
They had a spot that was so simple, but I don't think I've ever seen it in one of these matches. Maybe I've just forgotten. But Bully gave Hardy this superplex off the ladder, and they were so far up that Jeff's feet hit the belts, and it just looked so cool. How come no one's never thought of this before?
Just hit the belts and let them swing?
Yeah. I mean, luckily for them, it didn't knock the belts down, which it's TNA, and there was a very good possibility that would have happened. But I thought that was really cool. Everything else, they just tried to kill each other.
Yeah, it was very violent and brutal. And
this wasn't even the match where Davey broke his leg.
Oh, God, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I was thinking Rebel broke her leg.
Yeah, Rebel broke her arm, Davey broke his leg.
But Davey's broken leg was not on a TV tape.
It was a house show.
Okay.
Doing a baseball slide. I'm telling you guys, never do a baseball slide.
Didn't RVD break his leg doing the same thing?
Same thing. I think Lance might have even hurt himself on a baseball slide. I can't remember. I'll ask him next time.
Was it Batista?
I don't remember.
I don't think it was a broken leg. I think Dave hurt himself doing that once. And we were like, I remember the conversation because we were thinking, if Rob Van Dam broke his leg doing something, then Dave Batista should not try the same thing.
You know, when we went down for the fight, what's the name of the promotion? Me and Buddy wrestled on Wrestle Sport. Why do I think Fight Sport? Anyway, we went down there and
I think they have done Fight Sport in Portland too.
That's probably it.
Anyway.
So we're getting ready for the match, and Buddy's like, well, we'll just do a little spot here, and I'll go for a punch, and you baseball slide. I went, nope. No baseball slide. Not happening. I refuse to do that move.
Yes. Too dangerous.
It is.
It is.
It is. I'll do a giant, crazy senton off the top at 39 years old. I ain't doing a baseball slide.
So if I didn't mention this, the Wolves did eventually win. So every team has one win in the series now, and the next match will be for the titles, and that will end that. I thought this was far and away the best match these teams have done. It was great throughout, and the heat was constant. They never lost the fans even for a second, and it was just an outstanding match.
Series has been great.
Bram versus Gunner. As you noted, this is basically two clones having a war.
I was just happy that we finally have proof that they are not the same man.
This, I'm pretty sure they were on a tag team match.
I'm sure they have before.
But yes, they are about the same height, about the same build.
And this is essentially what the announcer said.
Yeah, they both have long hair and long brown beards. And they have the exact same style. So there was no way they were going to follow what just happened. But god damn, they tried. They had an intense brawl throughout, and they were working hard. And it was really good. And out came Sam Shaw. And this isn't even really his fault. He's just booked so badly.
As whoever put this match together, finish.
They're doing this match. And Gunner is selling his leg. And at one point, he went for a powerbomb and fell down. And I guess Shaw decided he could take no more here.
Well, what happened was he went for some sort of move, but his knee gave out because he's having knee problems.
Yes.
And so Sam Shaw was like, oh my God, my friend's knee.
Yeah. So he went to attack Bram, but Bram ducked and Shaw hit Gunner. The ref was watching all of this.
Right in front of the referee.
Staring at it. He did not call for a DQ. And Bram threw Shaw out of the ring and then pinned Gunner.
Hated this.
Gunner was pinned via punch from Sam Shaw.
Yeah. Perfectly fine little match here, and they had to do a stupid finish. I've argued for years, the idea that a man can be in the ring and the referee doesn't call for the bell is just so stupid. And people will always say, well, Brian, he hit the ring, but he didn't actually touch anybody. They hit him, and then they threw him out, so it shouldn't count. Well, in this particular case, the guy who did the run-in hit a dude so hard that the man ended up being pinned right in front of the referee. No announcement. Maybe this was some sort of no DQ match that they did a shitty job explaining to us. I don't know. But they ruined a perfectly good match for no good reason. They could have had a finish and then done something afterwards.
Yeah.
Or have it be a DQ and do the same post-match thing.
I don't know. Gail cut a promo saying Havok was trying to make a name for herself the wrong way by trying to hurt people.
It's wrestling, Gail. That's the right way.
But Gail had no issues about fighting her. Her delivery was very good.
It's very good, but you know what? I don't know if it was bad lighting or what, but this was the first time that Gail Kim has ever looked her age.
Oh.
Not good.
Oh.
Yeah.
Main event, TNA World Title, Lashley versus Bobby Roode. Another excellent match. Bobby Lashley is such a great champion.
Keep in mind.
Was.
This was filmed before his MMA fight. So when you recap all of this shit that he did, yes.
I didn't think about that until right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So.
Why don't you tell people this bump that he took?
All right, I'll skip to that point. So they're the point in the match where they're trading finishers. And Lashley hits a spear and Roode kicks out. And Roode hits the Roode bomb and Lashley kicks out. And
AA.
Yeah. And MVP tried to interfere, and the ref caught him and ejected him. And then King tried to interfere, and Eric Young brawled with him to the back. So it's just man on man now. And Roode goes to the Roode bomb again, which is the AA. And Lashley grabs the ropes to block it. And they struggle for a bit. And they struggle. And then Roode just threw him over the top rope. And Bobby Lashley, in preparation, weeks away from a MMA fight in Bellator, went from being over the top rope and fell down and took a flat back bump on the floor. At 270 pounds, however big he is.
Oh, man, this crazy guy. Splatted on the outside.
Yeah, this is not good for you. This is not good for you at all. And
I like the guy.
And I forgot that because of the taping schedule, I forgot this is before his fight. I was just thinking he has a MMA career to think of. No, he had a specific fight to think of, and he did that. This was so much more dangerous than almost anything that could ever happen to him in a fight.
I was going to say, this was more dangerous than anything that happened to him in that fight.
Well, in that fight, for sure.
Yeah.
But, my God. So, they're going back and forth for a bit. And early in the match, Bobby Lashley, who was amazing, hit this ridiculously huge standing leapfrog. Just cleared Roode with ease. And here we are, 15, 20 minutes later. Roode tries a leapfrog. He gets over him, but he comes down and he tweaks his knee. And he goes for because as great as Bobby Roode is, Lashley is still a better athlete. And then Roode tries the Roode bomb, but his leg gives out. And he turns around and gets speared, and Lashley wins. Collapses in exhaustion, but he is the victorious champion. Just a great title match.
I really like this match. I have one nitpick, and that is that this is the second time in a row, I believe, that Lashley has taken a crazy, stupid bump outside that looked like it nearly killed him. And within the following 1 to 1.5 minutes, he wins.
I think it was longer than that, but yeah. Actually, you know what?
No, he came in, he threw Roode off the top, he tried two spears and then hit it.
I will argue with you. He took this giant, stupid bump. Everyone went, oh, holy shit. Roode is down selling his beating in the ring. Lashley is down selling the fact that he has fallen from a building. Roode then has to go and get Lashley's large, deadweight body into the ring. And that was his struggle.
That's true.
That killed several seconds. In that time, it gave Lashley a chance to recover. And then Roode went up top. And by the time Lashley fought back after that bump, at least a good minute had passed.
All right, so 2 minutes.
All right. Now, if you want to argue this should have been like a big injury angle, I won't necessarily disagree.
Well, not so much that, but put in a spot where you have another 5 or 6 minutes of Lashley struggling to survive as a dude makes his big comeback, and then something happens.
Yeah.
He just got up too quick from it. But anyway, it's fine. The match was great. The only other thing that really annoyed me, I feel like I'm just burying the show, but I really liked it. Bobby Lashley came out, and he's got the belt around his waist, and he looks like $1 million. And they're like, Bobby Lashley, the Destroyer, I believe they call him. He's the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. He's a destroyer in everything he does. He destroys everyone in pro wrestling. He destroys everyone in mixed martial arts. And I'm like, yeah, Now we're talking. We got a champion here. Look at this guy. Looks like $1 million. Just won an MMA fight. He's a TNA champion. This guy's a killer. And now he's not the champion anymore.
Yeah.
What are they thinking? This guy just won an MMA fight. He should be champion forever.
Who knows?
Or at least like for more months. Didn't even wait and just like take it off him at Bound for Glory.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just couldn't even believe it. Finally, we got a guy that's like, it doesn't matter, but it's pretty cool that TNA has a champion he's their world heavyweight champion, and he's also a MMA winner. Nothing like this has happened in this country for decades. Anything even remotely resembling this. And they took the belt off him. Why? I have absolutely no idea. So we've come full circle, everybody.
It's TNA.
Great show, but I don't know what the hell's going on in wrestling anymore. It's passed me by.
So it opened with MVP versus Low Ki. It had hype videos for both guys. It was very good. Had a very fun match. Did a lot of fake MMA. Low Ki was much better at it. And the smaller man kept MVP off balance for a while until MVP yanked him off the ropes for the heat. Did a great fighting spirit spot where they took turns hitting each other as hard as they could. And then Ki busted out this goofy double foot stomp with MVP standing up. And the crowd chanted, "That was cool."
That was cool.
Which is a new one.
Yes.
And MVP kept going for the Ki crusher, but MVP was too big. And finally, he tried that cartwheel into a kick, but when he did the cartwheel, MVP did a log roll at him and tripped him in the cartwheel.
The epic log roll spot. Always a classic.
This is much better than when Hogan and Warrior did it.
Oh, come on.
Yes, it was. So MVP...
Oh, shit.
Yes. So,
sorry, Granny.
That didn't take long. So Low Ki splattered on his face in this cartwheel, and then MVP finished him off with his shining big boot. Very enjoyable match.
So we now know that Austin Aries is stronger than Low Ki, because Ki could not get MVP up for a Ki crusher, but Austin Aries was able to get the much larger Nux up for a brainbuster.
Indeed.
Sorry to spoil our own review here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dave was not down with this match either. He found it to be very average, and I thought it was a really fun little match here. A lot of grappling, high spots. I thought they worked great together.
It was paced well.
Finish was a little wacky. Like, you went for a cartwheel, and first off, the dude knew you were going to do a cartwheel, and so he decided to counter it with a log roll. That was a little wacky, but I thought it was good.
As someone who has not been watching much New Japan lately.
You will be soon, because we're doing the Shibata-Tanahashi match for Tuesday.
As someone whose wrestling diet has been 90% Raw, SmackDown, and Impact, this is much better than average.
Did you ever watch
much better than the average match I've seen lately.
Did you ever watch that AJ Suzuki match?
Yes, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read the interview that AJ did on the front page?
I don't think I have yet.
He was just talking about how, for him and Suzuki, they just went in there and they just thought they had a match. And he goes, Suzuki was baffled that all of these U.S. people on Twitter were tweeting him about what an awesome, amazing match it was. They were like, it was just a match. Well, yeah, I thought it was great.
BroMans had a goofy meeting backstage about whose girl was hotter. They finally plugged Robbie appearing on Amazing Race, and he explained that he had Velvet or Angelina, whichever girl he's with on Impact, but he's got one girl on Impact and another girl on Amazing Race, and neither one's ever going to find out about it. He was celebrating this, and then Jesse and DJC had to break it to him that on both of these shows, there were cameras everywhere filming his every move, and in fact, he was on camera right now. And Robbie saw the camera, and he ran away.
He shrieked.
And it was funny, but not nearly as funny as the fact that Robbie and Brooke are on Amazing Race, and they have made a point of not having them be a couple on the show.
Oh, yeah.
That's much funnier.
And she's still employed. I don't know what's going on. I'm baffled.
They had condolences for the friends and family of Eric the actor on his passing.
That's right.
And a video package hyping up the tag team series. All I know is that somewhere in here, Matt Hardy said the Wolves had 1 million moves.
Hey, he's right.
He's not wrong.
He figured it out.
Yes.
Can you imagine if this were real? That's just like, I've never seen so many moves. Where do they learn all these moves?
Robbie E versus Tajiri. Crowd chanted welcome back at Tajiri. Wasn't he just on the show like 2-3 weeks ago.
No, you should mention, by the way, Robbie E's promo where he said he was the toughest man in the United States.
Or the world.
Or the world.
Yes, he did say this.
That's right.
So Robbie E, as we all know, for like the past 6 months or more, has only done comedy spots and comedy matches. Robbie E is really good at wrestling.
Yeah, he was very good here.
Especially his bumping and selling. He's a great heel. But we worked great with Tajiri. And he was able to avoid the execution kick once. But then there was a ref bump, and Tajiri hit the green mist and the big kick to the face for the win. Very fun match. They even showed a replay of the finish, which always makes me happy.
I thought the finish was great.
Even when I catch the finish the first time, I like to see a replay.
Yeah, the finish was just everything about it. Like, Robbie E was trying to cheat by throwing Tajiri into the ref, but then he was foiled because he got the miss and then kicked right in the face and pinned. Right. I thought Tajiri looked great in this match. This was muchos funos. I don't know why I said that right there.
Spud was backstage in a suit with flowers. He addressed internet rumors of strife between
The suit had flowers. There's a flower pattern.
Yeah.
He wasn't there holding flowers.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
He said there were rumors of strife between himself and EC3, but then he pointed out that Ethan was still listed on his phone as best friend, so they must not have any problems.
Excellent proof.
No one could argue this.
No. When your phone has best friend listed when they call, that's your best friend.
And then the camera caught Spud on the phone, and Ethan was being mean to him, and he briefly tried to stand up for himself and then folded, and then he saw the camera filming him and ran away.
And I think Spud is I've been praising Spud for a long time, but this is a spoiler alert, everybody, so if you don't want to know what's going to happen sometime in the next 9 months of tapings, make sure you turn off right now. Spud is going babyface. And
this is the worst idea.
Oh no, they'll love this guy. But he was on a stairwell and he's on the phone with EC3. You can't even hear EC3. You can only see Spud reacting to what EC3 is saying on the phone. And he did it in such a way that you felt so bad for the guy. It's like, I feel really bad for Spud right now. What a great performer. It was him and a phone on a stairwell, and he made you feel sorry for him as he's about to turn babyface. It was great.
Austin Aries versus Nux.
What a great match.
This match ruled.
You are so fixin' to hate this.
Well, I assumed, because Aries is small, that they would match him up with Crazy Steve.
Oh.
Thank goodness they didn't.
Yeah, but you know what? Austin Aries killing Crazy Steve would have actually been a lot of fun.
I suppose. Somebody, oh, God, I forget who it was now. Somebody posted a link to the Kurt Angle-Roderick Strong match.
Yes.
And said how they'd heard about it for years and had never watched it before. And so I saw the link, and I said, this is a 3-minute match. I'll watch this right now. It's still awesome. It holds up fantastically well.
Yes.
So, anyway. So Nux and his crew come out and they're doing their whole entrance. Rebel is out there, and I'm just assuming they filmed this before she got hurt.
There's a lot of stuff that was taped out of order.
Yeah, because she was no cast or even a rap or anything. She just came out doing her entrance, and of course her entrance ends with her doing the splits. And so Aries was making a deliberate point to get as close as he could, shoving the ref out of the way to make sure he could check out her ass. And then he dubbed her a 7.
A 7.
He decided she was a 7.
Wow,
that's better than 70% of the people.
It's better than a 6.
Yes. So the story of this match early on was that Aries, of course, is small and used a lot of flips and rolls to escape Nux and counter his holds. And then, much to his surprise, Nux, who is large, would match him flip for flip.
Mm-hmm.
Doing kip-ups and somersaults, and everything Aries did, Nux could match.
Cartwheels.
Aries was very impressed, and he gave Nux a big ovation. Everyone cheered. And Nux gave a big bow, and then Aries grabbed him and went for a brainbuster. And Nux shoved him aside, appalled. They were having a perfectly fun little contest, and then this little fucker tried to drop him on his head.
Man.
What a dick.
Never trust these little guys.
No. So then they started having this match, and it was a lot of fun. And Aries kept trying for the brainbuster, but Nux was too big, and he kept trying to dive, but Nux would move out of the way. And finally, he hit his big dive, but Nux dodged, and so Aries wiped out Crazy Steve and the Freak, and went back in the ring. And after all these tries, the finish was just Aries hit a pair of rolling elbows, hit a drop kick in the corner, then herked him up for a mighty delayed brainbuster for the win. They didn't do 800 near falls. They didn't do 1,000 counters. They just built up to a finish and then paid it off and had a guy win. Which, by the way, is that's actually true of all these matches early. They did not do overkill at all. They built to a finish and then they delivered on it, and that was it.
Yeah, Aries is a great professional wrestler. Not sure if everybody's aware of that or not. The thing about this match, I mean, I loved everything about this match, but I will say this. TNA is on a very, very limited budget right now, and they're still bringing in the whole menagerie. Like, what's the big dude's name? Freak. This guy's getting a paycheck to stand there in a hood and look mean and take one dive from Austin Aries. It's kind of amazing when you really think about it, but this was a match that everybody should go out of their way to see if you're an Impact fan. If you've got it on the DVR and you're considering whether to watch or delete, watch this match. It was great.
This is the point in the show where I was like, I don't even remember the last time I had this much fun watching a wrestling show. This is better than anything I had seen in months. And then it did not.
All turned around right there.
Yeah. That's not that the second half was bad. It was not up to that level.
Well, the big problem was the crowd was getting tired. And so, like, the first half of the show, they were on fire. And then the second half, they start getting more and more tired. And finally, by the main event, which, by the way, the whole show built towards the main event. Mm-hmm. Everybody won a match to win their way into a 5-way, which had a stipulation the winner gets a shot at any title. And, man, the crowd was just done. About halfway through that main event, they just sat there.
It was 5 guys. They'd already seen them do all their stuff.
Yep.
There was no great animosity between any two of them.
Nope.
And they did, well, we'll get there. Magnus versus Mr. Anderson. The announcers were talking about how anyone who won this little challenge and got a title shot, they would be foolish to challenge Bobby Lashley. This wasn't Taz saying this as a heel. It was Taz and Tenay agreeing on this.
Yeah, he's such a badass that no one should bother.
Now, it's good to have a dominant champion, but to say the entire roster shouldn't even bother trying, then why should I bother watching?
Well, you know, they can challenge somebody else,
I guess. So, yes, the match was fine. It was not nearly as good as everything else in the show. And they went back and forth a bit at the end, and Magnus tried a blue thunder bomb, but Anderson countered it into the mic check for the win.
It was fine. Nothing special.
2 guys had a match, 1 guy won clean. And they moved on.
Yeah, they were following too much good stuff.
Yeah. In hindsight, considering this was clearly not live, they really should have mixed the good matches in throughout the show. Commercial for the Knockouts calendar, I believe, was Angelina, who noted it was hot girls in bikinis. What more could you ask for?
Not much.
This is an excellent commercial.
I think she said blondes. She was even more specific.
Might have been.
I remember that.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Had a Team 3D hype video. They're still together. Gail Kim Havok hype video. They're having a match next week.
I liked when they put up the TNA schedule, and they've got a date in October in Japan, and then they've got dates in January in the UK.
Yeah.
All outside the U.S. No U.S. dates. There are no dates on the calendar. And so unless they add dates, if you noticed on this show, if you watched it, there were a lot of video packages.
Yes.
And they are increasing, which is one of the ways they are filling time by taping so far in advance.
Hey, great.
And it is appearing that unless they book more TV tapings, then the period from probably mid-November through the end of the year will be all recap shows. No new material. Think about that.
Well, that's a little, that's not good. But hey, video packages, some were great, some were just there, but good.
There's nothing wrong with them.
There's nothing wrong with putting a video package to get your talent over. Show me who these personalities are and why they don't like each other. Great. Abyss versus Sam Shaw. This is the point where the show just stopped.
It's always poor Sam Shaw.
It really is. This is not, in fact, it's barely his fault at all. Sam Shaw is in the middle of a heel turn, which was followed a very short babyface run anyway. So no one was really into him. I have lost all track of whether Abyss is a babyface or a heel.
I don't know what he is.
This crowd had no idea who to cheer for or why they should.
You know what else I didn't know is what the hell was Sam Shaw's music?
I don't know what his
It
gear
was
is.
straight out of like an 80s fantasy film of some sort.
Sort of, yeah.
Like the Black Cauldron or something.
Maybe.
Something wacky. And then that outfit.
He's still wearing the street clothes. Dressing
The
like...
same street clothes. It's not even like he has a new...
No.
You know what I mean? It's like his gear is a sweater and pants that he wears every time.
Yes.
And get a couple new sweaters, buddy. You're on national television. Or quit wrestling in a fucking sweater.
Yeah. Why would you wrestle in a sweater anyway?
I don't know. Maybe he's got
Sweaters
like a
are
low
hot.
body temperature or something like that. Or he's trying to lose weight. It looks like he's got a physique. What are you wearing a sweatshirt for?
I don't know. So they did some stuff, and the crowd wasn't much into it, and it was mostly brawling on the floor. And there was a mini ref bump, and Shaw managed to hit a chair shot, but then Abyss no-sold it and hit the black hole slam for the win.
Yeah, think about that. Shaw hit a chair shot behind the referee's back and followed it up immediately by being pinned.
Yes.
What a geek.
Well, yeah.
Segment sucked.
And then we had the main event. It was the 5-way, and we kind of talked about it. Everyone had already been out in the show. They'd already done all their spots, so crowd was not terribly into it.
Even the announcers sounded tired.
Yeah. The only thing they got into was that it was the 2 guys in the ring with 3 guys in the apron waiting to tag themselves in kind of match. And so MVP managed to stay out of it for a very long time until he finally built up to his big tag in and getting beat up by everybody. Other than that, just a cluster of guys taking turns doing moves. And in the end, Aries and MVP were the 2 guys in the ring. And Aries ducked the shining big boot that MVP had won with earlier and did a schoolboy for the win. Yes, after all this, a schoolboy was the finish.
Yeah.
And he advertised that Aries would pick his title match for next week, and the show ended.
Do you know who he picks?
I don't actually. Is it the X title? I know there's a new X champion by the time these tapings finish.
He takes Taz's advice and he does not bother challenging Lashley.
Yeah.
He challenges Joe for the X title.
Yeah. So very enjoyable on the whole television show. The first hour was much better than the second, but still overall very fun. So as a self-contained show, giant thumbs up. But couldn't help but notice.
No, there are no matches.
We are 17 days away from what they are describing as their biggest show of the year. Forget no matches announced. There are no wrestlers announced.
Dude.
What in the fuck are they doing on
It's
Bound for
just
Glory?
a show. They don't give a shit about Bound for Glory this year because right now they don't have a television deal.
Yeah.
Do you realize that if Spike TV were not so kind as to allow them to continue on a week-to-week basis through the end of this year, that this company would be dead
Right now?
next week?
Huh?
Next week, they would be dead.
Yeah.
Because iMPACT has been canceled. The show has been canceled. It is not going to be renewed by Spike TV. So they have a few months to get a new television deal. And if not, everybody is unemployed. So all they care about right now is trying to get a television show that somebody somewhere will pick up. We'll see what happens.
There you go.